What is going on, YouTube people? Today, talking a little baseball. It is the final week of the season, and as it comes to a close, it is time to look back and look at some of our biggest winners and losers of the season. Now, obviously, we still have the playoffs to go, but I kind of wanted to do this as a capstone to the regular season to see how things have kind of finished up. Now, obviously, Ohtani, probably the biggest winner of the entire season. However, I did limit this search to first Bowman autos. So Ohtani will not pop up on this because we're strictly looking at first Bowmans, and Ohtani does not have a first Bowman. He has a rookie Bowman, but not a first Bowman. So we all know Ohtani to the moon, probably one of the biggest winners out there. I wanted to restrict this to just base first Bowman autos, whether it's Chrome, draft Chrome, whatever the case might be. I don't really care, just as long as it's their base Bowman auto in a PSA 10, just to keep things square across the board. Let's look at some of the guys that had the best seasons and also who got hammered the worst. Nothing is super surprising on here. Judge at the top, up 117%. I went 180 days on this. That takes us right to the tail end of March. But Judge, number one on the list, not super surprising. Another monster year. A much lower pop count in a PSA 10 at only 66. So much more increased value, sitting at 3.3K. Was 1.5K when the season started. Massive increase there, but limited supply to go along with that. Number two on the list, Paul Skeens. And even his stuff has cooled off a little bit, but he still managed to come in number two on the list, 126% increase. And by the way, I should note, this is by dollar value increase, not percentages. Next up, Bobby Witt, also an MVP finalist with Aaron Judge, most likely. Up 56% on his, so lower percentage gain, but almost a $500 increase. Elly De La Cruz, kind of a surprising one. He had a huge steals year. The Reds really had a bad season. He did not hit well for average, but still a really nice increase for him at almost 70% increase for $450 over the course of the MLB season. And then last of the big ones, Gunnar Henderson, with a 50% increase, up $270. He got a lot of heat to begin the year and then just kind of maintained and has kind of cooled off a little bit in card prices going from there. Now, down below, those are the big five. Now you start getting into prospects and guys that aren't necessarily in the majors or guys that just came up. Christian Campbell had a monster year for the Red Sox farm system to close out the season. He has gotten a bunch of run up here towards the end of the year. Julio Ramos, got called up during the season, had a really nice year for the Giants. This is Skeen's prospect auto. Obviously, that's up a decent chunk. Kumar Rocker, who just got called up. Max Clark, a trendy prospect from last year's Bowman draft. Mark Vientos, called up earlier in this season for the Mets third baseman, had a very strong season, cooled off a little bit towards the end of the year. Kobe Mayo, former Orioles prospect. Mookie Betts on the list, but only up 6%, so nothing really crazy there. Jaron Dern had a pretty nice season. Jason Dominguez, little teeny tiny bit. Obviously, he's up now. We'll see what he could do into the playoffs. Austin Wells has been pretty trendy to close out the year as well, up 60% on him. One player I forgot about, Jackson Merrill, slipped through the cracks on the initial filter. He obviously had a tremendous season. His stuff really shot up the back half of the season, up 167% on the year. That's a $240 increase. We'll talk about his fellow Jackson Churio here in a few minutes, but Merrill, another one with a really breakout performance this year. So let's flip this list around. You're not going to be surprised by any of the guys at the top of this. Biggest loser, dollar value wise, Ronald Acuna Jr. down $750. That's a 30% drop. down to 1.75K. Not necessarily the biggest percentage drop. Wyatt Langford of these top guys takes that list. Obviously, much hyped coming into the season, breaking camp with the team. Down $700 since the start of the season. That is a 70% drop. Currently sitting at just under $300. I am actually kind of intrigued by maybe taking a flyer on Langford as an off-season buy potentially. And remember, with baseball, typically the best time of year to purchase baseball is right around Thanksgiving. That has been a trend that has repeated over the last handful of years anyway. It's not surefire, but generally speaking, around Thanksgiving is a really good time to buy baseball. You have a few factors for that. The NBA is in its infancy of a season, so there's a lot of hype around that. Football is in the mid-season, and baseball no one's really thinking about. And you also have the holidays. Everyone's distracted by Christmas shopping, by Black Friday stuff, and we've just kind of always seen it. Some of the lowest prices of the year on baseball are in that mid to late November to early December range. And then as soon as Christmas starts, right after Christmas, things usually start to climb back up and that build up to spring training. Jackson Holliday coming in number 3 on the list, had a very up and down season. Ton of hype coming into the year. Broke camp with the team, played like crap, got sent down, got called back up again, had a good first couple games. Prices spiked and has been meh since. Overall down $500 since March. That's a 40% drop. Julio Rodriguez, ouch. 40% drop on him, down to 1.2K on his first Bowman. That's a $500 drop as well. He's been okay-ish the last month of the season, still batting like crap, but home runs and stolen bases have been there a little bit better. Overall, not a very good season on paper. We'll see if he could bounce back next year. And then we get into, once again, more of the prospect guys. We have Riley Green on here. I'm actually a little surprised by this one, as he has had a perfectly fine season. Dylan Cruz, the most recent top prospect, is currently up with the Nationals. Not batting very well, but stealing a lot of bases. He's down to $285, 40% drop. Jordan Walker has been a massive disappointment. Colton Cowser been up and down all year. Josh Jung, lots of injury problems. Anthony Volpe was hot to start the season and then fell off the face of a cliff. Has not been very good the back half. Evan Carter just plagued with injuries along with his running mate Wyatt Langford. He obviously had a bunch of hype coming off last year's World Series. We see Jackson Holliday's prospect auto. Colson Montgomery is one of the White Sox top prospects, but I think he only batted like in the low 200s in AAA this year. Tamar Johnson, Pirates prospect. Bobby Miller had a bunch of injuries this year. Walker Jenkins from this most recent 2024 Bowman, I believe he was also plagued with injuries quite a bit this year as well. We'll just flip over, look at one more page. Bo Bichette had an absolutely terrible year altogether, and so on and so forth down the list. Some surprising guys that did not make either list one way or the other. Juan Soto obviously had a really nice season. He's up $450, but it's only a 20% change because his card's so expensive to begin with. Another one that's probably going to surprise people a little bit is Jackson Chourio. Coming in at $500, had a really nice season, but he was very hyped coming into the year and is actually ending up down ever so slightly. One that I accidentally missed on the biggest losers of the year, Fernando Tatis Jr., a $550 drop, down 51%. I accidentally had him filtered out. Adley Rutschman, another one, had a pretty decent year overall, basically stayed flat. Corbin Carroll had a roller coaster ride of a season. The first half, he was absolute garbage. The second half, he has been a little bit better. He is basically maintained. Yordan Alvarez down a decent chunk. He just missed the cut on the going down guys. Overall, a very entertaining baseball season, and we still have the postseason to go. Obviously, the Ohtani stuff has been absolutely fantastic, and the things that he has done has just been absolutely crazy. Of the guys that we looked at on here, any of the ones that went to the moon, I am not sure are players that I want to be chasing after. I probably want to be more looking into those guys that are deep into the red and see if there's anyone spicy on there that intrigues me for a potential bounce back. As always, curious for your thoughts and comments down below. Let me know who you are hunting for this MLB off season, and we will see how the playoffs finish up. Go Tribe. Catch boys and girls in the next one. Peace.